This is to do with the working bee that we did earlier on this year, but what I thought I'd do was give a bit of a history on what's been happening at Brentwood over the years and the particular orchid there, Caladenia intuta. It was first named in the Orcadian in 2005, and this is the copy of the paper, so you can actually find that description online. It's in the Orcadian there. You can see there's quite a bit of work went into naming it. It was pushed pretty quickly because of the conditions of the area. It was recently found in the 90s, and then of course it was under severe threat right from the beginning as it was determined that it was a different species. Determining whether something is a different species, I have here 3 different white spider orchids. Anyone like to tell me which one is which? You can't see any difference between them? Yes. You can see some differences? This one is Caladenia brumalis, which is quite common. Common's the wrong word, but we find that often on York Peninsula. And lovely white spider orchid, but it also gets a lot of cream in its colour. This one is Caladenia rigida, which is another endangered orchid here in the hills. Now, take notice of the clubs. This is Caladenia intuta, and I tried to make sure you could see there's no clubs. So when Jones did his description, he actually separated it out from brumalis. Now that does not have clubs, but it does have your osmophores, which are the glands that give off a scent. So there you go, there's your 3 species. So his description was separating it out from brumalis, but he also gives a little bit of discussion in that paper on the differences with rigida. The York Peninsula and the region that it's found in, as you can see, 94% of the land's been declared for agriculture, and that's what this map gives you, this idea of the clearance that has gone on. So consequently, it is only in two major locations. There are a couple of places, 4 all told, the others are on private property. So we are only concerning ourselves with the main one, which is also the biggest population of them. A bit of a timeline. As in the 90s, discovered, named 2005, very quickly given a conservation status. The Friends of Brentwood Cemetery was formed in the same year, and then in 2010 there was the recovery plan for 12 of the threatened orchids, and intuta was included in that plan. That plan, the timeline for that is now completed several years ago. But between 2011 and 2018, NOSA, along with TPAG and Trees for Life, in conjunction with the Friends Group, spent a lot of time doing weeding in the site there at Brentwood Cemetery. Unfortunately, 2020 was cancelled due to COVID, and we kind of, I think, lost connection there for a bit. There were a lot of changes went on at that time. The threatened orchid recovery program was no longer going, which was where a lot of the coordination was happening from for it. But in 2023, Robert and I met Pam Bennett on a session we were doing, teaching on how to use iNaturalist and also on Wild Orchid Watch. And she was one of the people there, and part of that was actually it was through Trees for Life, and we went to Brentwood. So we had quite a lot of long discussions with Pam, and she's been on this, working there for 20 years, and was actually feeling quite discouraged. And that's one of the problems sometimes when you've been year in, year out doing this work and you're not seeing what you think is progress. Now, Robert and I had been there earlier on, and when we went back, we could see progress, but we're not there every day the way that she was. So we decided this year, we consulted with different people, and we worked out a plan of action, which was to tag all the plants when they were flowering, and do a GPS, and then go back and do the weeding, which is what we did August and September. So the thing is, the threats was the issue of what to look at. So primarily it's weeds, boxthorn, bridal creeper, freesia. Now the bridal creeper and the boxthorn, I think they've pretty well got under control. They have done an incredibly good job on that. It was really bad and they have really worked hard on it. Freesia has been the difficult one, it's been stubborn. And so it's, that was what was causing some of the discouragement. The other issue is tramping, because everybody knows where it is and they all go down to have a look. There is an area fenced off, loosely fenced, and it's called the sensitive site. But the orchids also occur in amongst the graves, and I'll show that later. The other, of course, is the illegal removal of plants. I don't think that's happened as much there. So the issue for today is the freesias. And if you notice, there's your orchids, there's your freesias. So, you know, how can you find what to do and distinguish which one you're pulling up and still protecting the other? So that was the challenge we had to meet, and we did a visit, like I said, in August. We tagged 380 plants. Now the procedure when you're tagging orchid plants is that you do them 10 centimetres north. So we had our compass and we had our little stakes to do it, and we also GPS all of them that were in the sensitive site. We didn't GPS the ones that were outside of it in amongst the graves, but we did count another 300. Now that number was actually excellent because it matched one of the earlier numbers, and this is in a dry year.
Another 30?
The 380 plus 30?
Yeah, 30.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. That actually matched what had happened in a previous year. So Pam was really, really encouraged with that. When we went that day, it was a very wet, frosty day, and they are all spider webs, so I had to put that one up. But here is the map of where we mapped most of the populations. That's where the graves are in this area. One of the things we did do was that the council, because they own the land, they wanted photographs of the stakes of all the graves. So I went round and photographed every grave, and they are really happy with having that because that helps them from the historical side of managing the graves there. So, having counted them all and GPS them, put the stakes in, we had our working bee. Much drier day, it was actually hot. We deliberately kept this group small because we were trying something different, but the group got even smaller because a few of us came down with colds. So Kai, who was our conservation officer, got COVID, and he was so looking forward to coming over to it. Some of the land care people, they were also sick. So it was really down to Robert and Mike and Pam doing the weeding, and what's his name? He went off and he was doing some other parts that they also do. So that gives you an idea of the area we're working in. And just to show you our tagging. Now, one of the problems with putting in pin marks and that is that it's so obvious, people go and have a look. And so we wanted to make this not obvious. And as you can see, yeah, they are a little bit hard to see, but when you're actually working there, they're pretty obvious. But from a distance, people can't see them. Robert gave instructions on how to use a 5mm, is that 5mm? So it's a very narrow chisel, and they were able to get the freesias that were in between. What was really encouraging was to see the number of seeds that there were so many pods that tells us the pollinators are still around. So that's all very encouraging signs that we had. There we go. You can see Mike is there in amongst the orchids. Yeah, there's a couple of stakes, but he can also see the freesias easily. And he's giving us a nice smile, so say hello to Mike. The other thing is is there, is that we really want to encourage people, if you're going to visit the site, look for the orchids among the graves, not on the sensitive site. Leave that one, because trampling is an issue. And if you're over there, the other thing we encourage is picking and removing the flowers, because of the freesias. Thank you, Robert. Because we really want to discourage seed set. And one of the things we did do, Pam and I went and we picked the flowers away from the area, so we got an awful lot, and she went back and got more later. But she said she went back a couple of weeks later, and it would have been too late for us to do any weeding where the freesia was concerned. The aim is to try and do 2 freesia weeding sessions. The Friends group can do 1 session, and we can organise to do another session. So that's what we're going to be looking for next year, is we will put out a call for those who would like to come over and help with the weeding. This way, by increasing the weeding, we're hoping to really knock them off. So, that's mine.